Welcome to Dr. P.C. Verma Economics YouTube economics class. This class is for UPSC examinee, RBI RBI examination, and Indian Economic Service Association by students appearing in these examinations, state level civil services examination, and career in banking. Most of the probationary officers final round interview. In that, you will be grilled by certain basic things regarding to the banking. I had discussed earlier different criteria on which you can identify that which commercial bank is better than the other. You can identify on the basis of different parameters that the particular commercial banks, central commercial banks, nationalized commercial banks, or other private commercial banks, whether they are working well or not. The efficiency of the banks and to identify the good quality of banking stocks be required. Finally, it is said that there are many practices of different type of ratios, and ratios are not one. There are many ratios, say net interest margin, cost of deposit, yield on advances, credit deposit ratio, asset quality ratio. Under asset quality ratio, again, there are four key measures to assess the asset quality of a bank: GNPA ratio, NNPA ratio, PCR, and credit cost ratio. And lastly, CRAR, capital to risk-weighted asset ratio. CRAR indicates a bank's buffer against unexpected losses, calculated by dividing the bank's capital funds by its risk-weighted asset, RWA. RWA is the sum of bank's various assets multiplied by their risk weights. Riskier assets have higher weights. So, in commercial banks criterion, you will find out capital fund is the sum of CET. CET means common equity tier 1. AT1 means additional tier 1. Tier 2 capitals. CET1 roughly consists of share capital, securities premium, a statutory reserve, and other free reserve, and assumes that the highest importance of the three. This is because common equity tier 1 capital is of the highest quality of the three, and the first is to absorb losses in a stress scenario. As per RBI norm, the minimum CRAR is 11.5%, and minimum CET common equity tier 1 is 8%. Under 8%, 5.5% plus capital conservation buffer of 2.5%. A higher ratio means the bank is better positioned to handle financial stresses, while the CRAR higher than the regulatory minimum may be advantageous in times of financial stress. Too high CRAR could suggest underutilization of capital resources. It is important to have a thorough contextual understanding before judging banks' CRAR as too high. So all these things are there, but experts' opinion is that Assessing banks on the metrics explained above is only half of the job. Good investing decision depends on the valuation at which you bought the shares. When it comes to bank, price to book value, P by B, is the widest used valuation metrics. It is got by dividing by the market cap of a bank by its net asset book value. The ratio captures earnings also to an extent, and as the growth in net assets largely comes from net profit plugged back into the business. The premium and we are we are examining the views of Nishant Gopalakrishnan, a brilliant write-up in Business Line Portfolio, Sunday, September 1, 2024, Kolkata edition. He has clearly mentioned that all these ratios are there, but the main thing is the valuation. So some of the parts, SOTP valuation, to identify quality banking stocks is very, very important and more powerful than the above 6 ratios explained earlier in my first lecture. And very clear conception is shown by Mr. Nishant Gopalakrishnan, and he says that all these ratios are in one box, and in another box, that is SOTP valuation. Then SOTP valuation will be the main deciding factor for the identification of the banks which have quality, higher quality banking stocks. Assessing banks in India assessing banks in India, commercial banks on the metrics like NIM, COD, YOA, credit deposit ratio, asset quality, ratios, asset quality ratios, asset quality ratios, having having GNPA GNPA ratio, NNPA ratio, NNPA ratio, PCR, and credit cost. And finally, CRAR, Nishant Gopala Krishnan says, assessing banks on the assessing bank on the metrics explained above is only half the job. Good good investing good investing decision depends on the valuation at which at which You bought. You bought the shares. SOTP. Valuation. Top banks have material subsidies and associates and associates that are engaged in the businesses in the businesses of insurance, asset management, and housing. Asset management and housing finance, among many others. Among many others. And the share price and the share prices of such banks like SBI, HDFC, Bank, and ICICI ICICI Bank derive significant value from the performance of such entities. So it calls for a sum of the parts SOTP. Valuation of such banks rather than valuing the banking business, valuing the banking business in isolation, isolation. In SOTP valuation, discrete values are arrived at for the for the is a standalone bank, for the stand for the standalone for the standalone bank based on P by B and each of the subsidies and each of the subsidies associates based on relevant based on relevant valuation metric for each business for each business eventually business eventually such such values are added up to up to get the overall value of the bank of the bank when it comes to banks, when it comes to banks, price to book value, price to book value, price to book value, P by B, price to book value. Is the widely used is the is the widely used is the widely used widely used valuation used valuation valuation widely used valuation metric. It is got by dividing the market cap. It is got it is got dividing by dividing the market the market cap of a bank. Of a bank, market cap of a bank by its net asset, by its its net assets, its net assets. Book value. The ratio captures the ratio captures earnings earnings also to an extent, also to an extent. as the growth as the growth in net assets, in net assets largely comes from net profit. Net profits plowed plowed back into business, plowed back into business. The premium in price over the book value. The premium in price over the book value will depend on one's confidence, one's confidence in the sustainability, in the sustainability and trajectory of future earning, and trajectory of future earning, of trajectory of future earnings. An important factor and an important factor in assessing it, important factor in in assessing in assessing this in assessing this is the banks is the bank's ROE, return on equity, return on equity equal to net profit divided by net assets. ROE is a measure that captures measures that captures how productivity, how productivity how 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 productivity efficiently efficiently how productivity by oblique efficiently a bank efficiently a bank uses its net assets or book value or it is said that when evaluating the bank in question, investors can use the investors can use the pair P by B and ROE to compare the bank with peers. Qualitative aspects this apart, paying attention, paying attention to to qualitative aspect, qualitative aspects such as corporate governance, corporate governance, corporate governance, and 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 material litigations. material litigations is critical, is critical. For instance, one were to look at the solid fundamentals of Tamil Nadu Mercantile Bank, one would conclude that the bank is brutally undervalued. For instance, if one were to look at the solid solid fundamentals fundamentals of Tamil Nadu Mercantile Bank. Mercantile Bank, one would conclude one would conclude that the bank is brutally undervalued. Relative to peers. But the fact is that there are several legacy. There are several legacy litigations in relation to the share capital, to the share capital of the bank. That are weighing that are weighing in on the share price, on the share price, thereby restricting a premium valuation. Here is where qualitative judgment come in. Here is qualitative judgment. Qualitative judgment. Qualitative judgment come in if one believes the legacy, the legacy litigations, in the case of TMB can be resolved. TMB can be resolved. Can be resolved. Then the stock then the stock the stock will see a re re-rating else it can turn into a value trap. Value trap. Investors must assess investors must assess the implication of such qualitative aspect. Qualitative aspects before taking the investment call. Nishant Gopalakrishnan. Nishant Gopalakrishnan. Listen. Had carried the SOTP valuation of SBI on 25th August 2024, which illustrates how about 30% of the banks of the bank's share price could come from its key subsidiaries. It is concluded it is concluded valuation, the ultimate decision it concluded valuation, the ultimate decision maker. Maker. Ultimate decision maker to identify quality quality to identify good quality banking stock. Good quality banking because to identify good quality banking stock. Thus, we come to the conclusion that in spite of several ratios we have examined in earlier class and noted here also in the first paragraph, all these six ratios which are used for the calculation of efficiency and performance of the banks and quality of the bank, Nishant Gopalakrishnan had carried in-depth research, and he finds that valuation, SOTP valuation, must be taken as the ultimate decision maker to identify good quality banking stocks. And therefore, SOTP valuation of SBI, HDFC, and ICICI Bank, PNB Bank, Canara Bank, Bank of Baroda, Union Bank, Axis Bank, Bank of India, Indian Bank. All these are Eastern investors, companies investors presentation on the basis of different data. It is being calculated by the researchers and come to the conclusion that there is a need to update a net interest margin, NIM, COD, cost of deposits, YOA, yield on advances, CD ratio, credit deposit ratio, asset quality ratio. Asset quality ratio is finally broken into four parts. Number one is GNPA ratio. Number two, NNPA ratio. Number three, PCR. Number four, credit cost. These are four types of asset quality ratios which are to be calculated for the bank. And finally, there is CRAR, capital to risk weighted asset ratio, CRAR. This CRAR is very important, indicates a bank's buffer against unexpected losses, calculated by dividing the bank's capital fund by its risk-weighted asset. RWA, risk-weighted asset, is sum of the bank's various assets multiplied by the respective risk weight. Riskier assets have higher weightage. In the analysis we have discussed also, capital funds is the sum of common equity tier 1, additional tier 1, tier 2 capital. We can find out common equity tier roughly consists of share capital, securities premium, statutory reserves, and other fee reserves, and assumes the highest importance of the three. This is because common equity tier 1 capital is the highest quality of the three and the first to absorb losses in a stress scenario. And finally, all these are good for finding out the performance and efficiency of the commercial banks. But Nishant Gopalakrishnan had carried out research and finally come to the conclusion that SOTP valuation of the banks must be given preference, and valuation technique is the ultimate decision maker to identify good quality banking stocks. That's all. Tell your friends to be the part of this teaching by subscribing the channel and getting notification of all these new things which are added in comparison to the previous ones. Every latest information will be there, you to read it, you write it, you precise it, you make your own notes, because your work is the final work, and thereafter discussing among the friends will clarify your mind on each topic, and you can discuss anywhere on these topics. So like it, share it, and write at least in one line that how much you are satisfied. I'm teaching for the last 50 years, and my first student now retires from the job. So the teacher never retires, but my students become IAS officer, IPS officer, RBI officer, NABARD officers. They are retiring every year. But it's pleasure to me that I am after retirement from the job as Professor of Economics in Patna University. I taught in MBA in Chanakya National Law University, MBA in BIT Mesra University, MBA in NIFTEM, Sonipat, via Delhi. Everywhere I taught, but finally I established my own institute in Mukherjee Nagar, Dr. P.C. Verma Economics Academy in Ansal building near the Batra Cinema Hall, first floor. And one English medium I have established in Rajendra Nagar near the Raj Coaching. There, just Raj Coaching, left side, Khan Coaching. And thereafter, third house, and which the second floor, Dr. P.C. Verma Economics Academy was there. During COVID period, I returned back from there and come to Patna. I often go there, but many times I am available in Patna. So those from Bihar, they can meet me in Patna for offline classes. And online classes, they can be from anywhere in India and abroad. It is quite surprising that students of Pakistan, students of Nepal, students of some parts of USA, some parts of Great Britain, they are reading English medium materials, and therefore I always try to make it original. You will surprise to note that YouTube has sent me a letter on the basis of AI, artificial intelligence search. It is found that Dr. Professor P.C. Verma is teaching UPSC students, and his material is very, very rare and original. This is the AI report, which I have published also in some of the journals, getting the contents from the YouTube. So this has given me moral boosting. I tell you anything not in a lighter vein. I always go into inside the story, and best thing should be taught to you so that you will qualify in first year. It is very important to get a job. If you want to appear in UPSC or BPSC, any exams, you must stick that you will clear in 1 year. And for that, enough preparation, 12 hours per day is required. Reading, writing, thinking, discussing, all these things are going on in a war footing, and you will get success. Thank you very much.